Everybody to the May 10th FISP meeting. Welcome, roll call. Everyone's present except Siobhan Pack-Riley, who will be here in a little while, and Kate. Kate is, I haven't heard from her. Have you heard from her?
Not recently.
Okay. All right, we're going to start with the police station, the OPM report, and schedule and budget.
All right, executive overview is the first page of your handout that I gave you. No real major changes in design work. Sorry. We're up to 42 RFIs, which isn't bad for, 30%, 35% of the work being completed. There's 9 of them open right now. As we get some new trades, there's usually a bump up, so now our interior folks are starting to really look at the drawings and ask some questions before they get ramped up. We've had 19 change proposals, which is up a few from our last month's meeting. Based on last month's meeting, you've approved 14 of them. 3 of them are pending in review and negotiations, and 2 of them have been rejected. The best news on this sheet of paper is in the middle of construction where it's, bold and underlined. We finally got the DOT permit straightened out. They've asked for a little bit bigger drainage detention basin and a gate valve to put in and close anything that may spill into the detention basin off from the state system. And so we've gone over those changes at our last meeting, but that issue is now behind us. And I did send to planning board today the final drawings and the sketches that were issued and the description of work, and we'll see whether they want us to go back and explain it to planning board. But I did talk to Chris out in the parking lot, and he thought that probably just dealing with it as built after the fact would suffice. Schedule, construct.
Chris, who out in the parking lot?
Planning board.
Chris Hodgson. Okay, Chris Hodgson from the planning board. Thank you.
Outside of the building, if you're driving by, siding trims around the windows are going up, trim board around the base, stone veneer is going on. Those are kind of the things that you can see happening. Next week, you'll start to see the garage and the Sallyport framing take shape. And we'll start closing that in to get the roof trusses and things on the back portion of the building. Inside, of course, you can't see by driving by, but it's more of the interior wires, pipes, plumbing, duct work. We did have the fire protection sprinkler contractor start this week, so he's got his stuff in the building. That's that. Any questions? All right, the budget sheet. Only 3 things on the budget sheet have changed, highlighted in yellow. They're invoices that you have further down your agenda tonight. One would be RAC, the builder, RAC Builders, their invoice application number 5 for last month, which I believe Anita has on the other handout for folks.
They've received copies of it.
And you've received copies. Designer invoice for Keola Bienick in the amount of $4,600.
46,
Some change.
46.67.
And the last highlighted item is Clerk of the Works for Cardinal Construction Services. And that is in the standard amount of $73.50. And represents the highlighted area of the clerk on the budget.
Motion to approve those?
What's that?
Motion.
I think you're gonna go over those
Okay.
under invoices later.
Okay.
Couple of key pieces of paper in your handout. Our RAC Builder change order, change proposals. I wanted to just review these. The group reviewed these and approved the higher amounts last week before we had the final amounts in. And the idea was, let's approve the higher amounts, get the contractor working, get the drawings out to everybody. So I believe if they're in the right order, the first one was PCO 16, or 17, how'd I put them
17.
together in your handout? All right. 17 and 17 RO1 and RO2. So we're at $29,551 for the drainage work. Now that we've eliminated the flowable fill, a couple other things went along with that, is down to $19,353. So nice savings there. And the DOT permit work required for the sewer and water trenching went from $15,279 down to $6,487. So we picked up a lot of savings there, and those numbers are reflected in your budgets and in the executive summary under the budget. So I think when we were sitting here, we were talking about some, maybe $80,000 of contingency
Right. left
over. What you're now showing on your executive summary is $93,000 in potential contingency right now available. So it was nice to have a good positive week of contingency building rather than contingency evaporation.
One would assume this also improved your golf game.
Yes, sure. I don't know how the two are related, but
Well, you're.
happy golfers are better golfers. My mind isn't always on your budget. Couple of other pieces of information that you've long been waiting for is an actual construction schedule as prepared by the contractor. So RAC has always been saying, until we get the drainage figured out, until we get the DOT, we can't do a schedule, we can't do a schedule. So we got them over that hurdle. I'm gonna continue to tweak this, it just came out today. There's some more breakdowns, a few more things that need to be developed in here, but I think it's accurate and close enough to demonstrate to you where they are in the project currently. The activities that are ongoing with the green line down the middle are appropriate. The sequencing works. It makes sense from a sequencing and a duration of time standpoint. So I wanted to get that in your hands. The last piece, which will really stand out for Anita and for financing, is the estimated payments. So these are their estimated billings. Now, they might be off by a couple of percent here or there each month, but now you've got something that ties to the schedule, and it's actually derived from the schedule. So we can rely on those two pieces of information.
Make the treasurer happy, although she's borrowed full amount.
Okay.
So we can,
And we actually judge now, there's standard language in their contract that says, once you've given us this schedule and the billing, if you miss by 5% more than 3 months in a row, we get to tell them, hey, you gotta start working nights, weekends, expedite the schedule, whatever it is to get back on schedule. So we've been very hard to be able to do that
nice.
without having this information.
This is great, thank you, Tony.
So we should
You're
be,
welcome.
August, September.
Yep,
Yep.
yep, that's what he's shooting for. September 15th.
Do you have another packet?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Hand that down.
Thank you.
So that's substantial completion.
Yep. So that's, beneficial
Yes.
Beneficial use and occupancy is defined as substantial completion.
So
And that's-
commissioning would have been done and such by then too?
Yep, yep. All the life safety systems are checked, all the heating systems are run. You're probably going in, doing punch lists, painting, touch-up, replacing carpet tile or ceiling tile, really tweaking the inner workings of the building, putting all your furniture in. And then typically on these police station, public safety type projects, I find there's sometimes 60, sometimes as much as 90 days between certificate of occupancy and people actually showing up to go to work in the building. You know, there's gonna be systems that need to be brought online and tweaked and debugged. You know, you might take time to move evidence over slowly. Other people, you know, may move the detectives in first and some other group in later. You know, there's many different ways that I've seen police departments move in at new stations.
Right.
But it's usually not all, hey, today's the day and we're all going.
It may be in our town.
Maybe, everybody's in such a rush, we just want to get in
Out of
there.
the closets and move into an
Right.
office.
But usually, you know, it's a little bit slower process, and we'll talk about, you know, what do you want to do with evidence? I mean, again, it's something where depending on how much you have, you load it in at trucks and they bring it over. Some will hire a moving company to tag the truck, lock the truck, cruiser follows the truck, you take the evidence out, put it in the other room. A lot of that little stuff to think of as we get
As it gets
into
closer.
the summer. But it's gonna go by quick. They're planning on putting drywall up on all the walls, really starting drywall, tape, and compound early June.
Oh.
So, and that building is probably a 2-week effort between sheet rock coming in the door and paint going on the walls. And then you're really gonna start to see something. The other thing that I would just suggest, at some point, the whole committee hasn't been through the building.
Or, yeah.
Pick something now so that you kind of get a sense of, in the month of May, and then when you do it in August, you know, kind of see it again more in a finished state, but there's nothing saying you can't schedule a building committee walkthrough kind of thing.
Maybe we'll do that at the beginning of June or something like that. Our meeting in June, maybe we'll walk through there. We'll meet there over a half hour early or something like that and walk through it.
So, that's all I got. The
Thank
good
you,
news
Tony.
is, quick, easy, no painful conversations today.
Appreciate it.
Thanks to our friends at DOT.
Thank you so much.
John, if I just want to try to clarify something. So from your manager's report, you're showing 93K of contingency. On the master budget sheet, you're showing 51. How do we?
So you have savings in
Okay,
all the
okay,
different
all
line
Thank
items
you.
that roll up.
All right, good.
Yep.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
You want to do these invoices now and
Sure.
get them out of the way?
And we should vote on the recommendation of the C and B change order number 3.
Yep.
Okay. So the invoices that we have, the 3 are, we have RAC Builders in the amount of $302,821. You want to do them one by one or
Yeah,
all
please.
together?
A motion on that?
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Just for clarification, these never get presented to us unless Tony's already gone through and signed off.
Correct. We go through them a week ahead of time, get edits back in what's called a pencil draft form, and they make the changes and.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have a C and B invoice in the amount of $4,667.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
And we have a Cardinal Construction invoice in the amount of $7,350.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. You get paid this week, Tony.
Excellent. Another round of golf. I think my work here is done.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to start our senior center presentation. This is one that's going to be presented at the town meeting on Monday. So we wanted, this is our last chance to go over everything. And if you have any questions, we'll take them after, but we'd like to go through the discussion. If you have anything in between, just stop us while we're doing it. We'll try to answer questions as we do it, because like I said, this is a rough draft for us. We want to get the final draft of the town meeting on Monday, and hopefully everything's good to go. Phil Mallett, he's going to start with it, then you're going to raise, who's going to do the financial? One of you guys will. So, go ahead, Bill.
Hi, everybody, I'm Phil Mallett. As John said, I live in Ancient Brook Village with about 250 other wonderful West Boylston voters and taxpayers. I'm a member of the Facilities Implementation Strategic Planning Committee, FISP, that's us. So, the senior center, a long time coming. We need a permanent one, not a temporary rented one. The voters of nearly every surrounding town have built a new or renovated an existing building for their senior center. Only West Boylston hasn't. 10 years since the senior center was moved from the Mixter property to temporary quarters on Hartwell Street. Temporary quarters in an industrial building where the entryway is unwelcoming. Few windows to let the sun or the outside in, and no windows in its most used rooms. No capability for programming out of doors or even to take a walk. A virtually unusable kitchen and inadequate space to offer necessary programs. Space limitations are so acute that and that we can't defray costs with rentals as other senior centers do. A physical atmosphere so unpleasant, attendance is actually suppressed rather than enhanced. We need a new senior center, the senior center that was delayed for our new town hall and our new police station, a senior center that will be a creative town resource, available in the evenings and weekends to schedule performances of all kinds, Girl and Boy Scout meetings, lectures, nature walks, even voting, and perhaps even a town meeting. A creative senior center with community capabilities. Please let me emphasize that last point. A community resource available for many town-wide activities. We need a senior center with adequate space for future senior needs because, as you'll see, our West Boylston seniors are 30% of our overall population. So now, after 10 years of inadequate temporary space, the time and the need are upon us. Keep the number 40 in mind, 40. I'll come back to it later. Now let's go to the slides for more information and the plan for how to get this done. As you can see, this is our last presentation before the town meeting. The town meeting voted down the Bethlehem Bible Church proposal. At the same time, they voted to appropriate $10,000 to do a conceptual report for phase 1 of a new senior center. We got drawings, as you can see, or you saw coming in, and we will see later in the slideshow. We got a floor plan. By the way, the floor plan was conceived and designed by our director, Lisa, who is a trained architect and has designed a floor plan that fits the programming needs for now and in the future over the course of the next 10 to 15 years. We also got a cost projection, and we'll discuss that a little bit later when our financial experts give you the lowdown on that. Phase 2 is an important new initiative. We had difficulty with the police station getting a real fix on what the costs were going to be, as you probably all remember. So what the Board of Selectmen did and the FISP decided to do was to get the bid documents designed by an architect and hire an owner's project manager like Tony, who just left, who's doing the police station, so that we could go out to bid, competitive bids, and get exact figures, firm figures on what the senior center will cost. Then we'll go back to a special town meeting to get the vote for the actual construction costs.
Excuse me. How many bids do you expect to get?
I beg your pardon?
How many bids do you expect you would get?
We don't know until the bids go out, until they come in. As architect for the police station, I believe we had 6 or 7.
7. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so financial considerations we'll be discussing in a few moments. This is the entrance to the senior center. As you can see, it's not very attractive. I'm sure all of you've seen it. There's no room on the outside to do any kind of programming or walks. We have only 3,500 square feet. The new building will be 8,500 square feet. 10,300 square feet gross. The difference is made up of utilities and wall thicknesses, etc. We have to limit our occupancy as a result of that 3,500 square feet due to space constraints and code regulations. So we can only have 49 maximum people in the senior center at one time. Our kitchen is inadequate, yet last year we delivered 6,000 Meals on Wheels and 3,400 in-house meals were served. There are no windows in the gathering spaces. I don't think this, oh, there it is. Okay, here's one of the gathering spaces, no windows. Here's the multi-purpose room with the inadequate kitchen. Here's the multi-purpose room, another view during a lunch. This is the entryway. As you can see, there's no windows in the main rooms. We also have some security issues. We have a common hallway we have to share with other tenants. That makes for difficulties. Some pilferage, it hasn't become serious yet, but it could in the future. But more importantly, there's no privacy for health clinics, legal or financial consultants. And especially this is important. Now, a visiting nurse or doctor giving health clinics to our seniors has to work with one senior, go across the senior center into the bathroom and wash, and then come back and work with the next senior, right? In the new senior centers, I'll point out to you when we see the floor plan, there will be a room dedicated to that that will have a sink and ability to clean up. We also have noise from other tenants, machinery that goes on, and odors. I'm sure any of you have gone in, the first thing that greets you is the odor in the sort of musty odor in the entryway. 7,800 program participants, visitors, or volunteers registered their visits last year by scanning their card through the reader with the computer in the front. An additional unknown number, 15 to 20% more, visited but failed to register. As you see, this number is pretty important because we'll compare it with Rockland a little bit later on when they get a new senior center and see that their visitations went up markedly. This is a, help me Lisa, this is some sort of exercise class, Tai Chi, yoga, pool tables. We need 2 pool tables in order to participate in statewide senior tournaments. And there's room for those in the new senior center. And this was, looks like a craft class.
Flower arrangement.
A big pardon?
Flower arrangement.
Flower arranging.
Thank you, Pat.
I'm surprised I missed that. I'm an expert on flower arranging. A nationwide trend. We're all getting older, and more of us are getting older, except for me. West Boylston population projections are going to be now. As you can see, the population of West Boylston is apparently declining a little. The source for this information is the Secretary of the Commonwealth and the UMass Donahue Institute. As you can see, the number of older adults versus the overall population in 2010 was 1895 versus 7669. In 2015, it was 2267 versus 7671, and importantly, in 2020, it'll be 27046 versus 7661. So you can see that the population, older adult population in West Boylston is increasing.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you answer why there's almost 1,000
population decrease, that's 7,516 and said 6,947, okay, 600 person decrease in, what is it, 1 year?
That's the overall that's the overall population.
5 years.
By 2030.
2030, yeah.
Now, included in the present population, well, I guess we'll look at 2015, which is the closest, I guess, is inmates at the House of Correction included in there?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. So minus 900 people?
It's about 1,200, about 1,200 right now.
1,200. So the real population, if you will, that contribute, if you will, to our town is about
76, 71 minus 1,200,
76.
something of that order of magnitude.
When it comes to other issues in this town, I don't know what, when it comes to other issues in this town, now 1,200, so that's about 15% to 18% of the population is the House of Correction, is that right? Is that right?
If your math is correct.
About 15 to 18%, I'm guessing, but I'm pretty good at math. I'm not great at reading those numbers, though. But anyhow, for other issues economically that we get through the state, if you know, I don't want to go off base either. Do we get credit, if you will, for them being in West Boylston and being part of our population? In other words, if we wanted a grant, say we wanted a grant, and we list the population of the town of West Boylston at 7,500 people,
Yes.
okay? Is it taken into consideration through the grant givers of the grant applications that 1,200 of those residents, I use that word lightly, by the way, are inmates at the House of Correction that certainly aren't there for more than, what, 2.5 years, Chris? I think 2.5 years they're there, that's how I'm at the House of Correction. Is that taken into consideration in regards to anything that we may get through federal grants or anything?
Well, first of all, we have done a research on that. Secondly, it's really up to the grant maker to make those kinds of calculations. If you're asking, could we make a case that we're housing the jail population and that should not count against us in our overall population, then I would say that we probably can make that case. Whether it'll win the day or not, that's up to the grant giver again.
Well, I think that, in all due respect, I think that that's a mistake that this town has always made, is that we're giving, if you will, a lot of our resources, and I'm not trying to go off base, by the way. We're giving a lot of our resources to 15 to 18% of the people that don't contribute a damn thing to this town. And as a result, I think that should be taken into consideration, that we are giving community, if you will, and get nothing for it, but we use a lot of our own personal expenditures through emergency services, fire, and police.
So the answer to your question,
And we're going to be asking for some type of a grant, some type of a loan for the senior center. Does that come into effect, does that play any part in us getting a grant maybe at a lower cost because of special services that we provide to indigent people?
Anita can answer that question.
Anita Schreiber is the town administrator. That's a two-part question, so let me answer the first
Sure.
part first. We currently do get some advantage of having the prison in our community. When we're looking to get grants for both police and fire, we do put that information in there, and we get recognition for the fact that we provide police and fire services to some degree to the sheriff's facility.
Anita, recognition and monetarily.
It does help with us in terms of
We
the
don't care
amounts we
about
get.
any of these
However-
banners and stuff, we want money.
Right. So, and it does help with right now, most of the grants we're getting are public safety related grants, so it does help us. In terms of, will that help us when we go to get grant funding for this facility? Probably not. We're finding that because of the demographics in town, we really would not be eligible for those type of state grants where that would come into play. Our income level is too high in our community. We are looking at other foundations and other sources of grant funds. It's too early to say yet whether or not any of those foundations will give consideration to that particular factor.
When you say that I think the word, our income level in this community is too high, when we put that in per capita, do we put in the 1,200 people that don't make a penny at the Worcester County House of Correction, which certainly, if we did, would bring down that income level substantially? Do we do that? Or do we just exclude them and put in 6,300 people, seniors, of which there are 30% approximately, I think, the gentleman stated?
Yeah,
which
so
is
that's a
inaccurate.
good question, and basically, those types of grants, CDBG and others, rely on the federal census, and they do include the inmates at the facility.
Well, with 1,200 people in a small town of 7,500 people that don't have any income, have no income, other than maybe SSDI because of their own self-inflictions, if you will, that don't have any money. I'm just saying that I've lived in West Boylston since 1979. By the way, I love West Boylston. So let's get that, okay? But I would think that that would substantially bring down our town because of the small amount of people that we have, bring down that income level to be one of the lowest in the state, other than cities maybe like Worcester where 40% or 42% of the people are poverty level. Many of them by their own actions or inactions also. So, but I would think that West Boylston, and only because of the House of Correction, would have a very low per capita income, household income level because of the 15 to 18% that have no contributing monetary factors in this community.
It is low, but it's not low enough to make us be highly rated for any of the state or federal grants. So we're gonna need to look to other funding sources.
As long as when we put in father grants, when we say that we have, when we put in the grant, we don't put in that we have 6,300 people, but when our census says that we have 7,500, but we exclude the 1,200 because they're inmates at the House of Correction. I hope that is done properly when we put in for grants. So in fact, we have 7,500 people in the town of West Boylston. And you're not certainly lying because the federal census says that we do, or our state census says that we do, or our town census says that we do.
How we apply for the grants will depend on the funding agency that we're going to. So it really will be a case by case in terms of what is the funding source. Is it a foundation that has private special interest that they're looking to help us achieve? Or is it a different type of state level grant that we need to try to reach a different set of parameters of what criteria they use to determine who to fund? It'll be.
Okay, I just can't see an application for funding, and I'm pretty familiar with them. I can't see an application for funding that would have the parameters. Do you have a house of correction or a jail in your town? And if you do, what's the population of that particular facility? And then, do you have other than that, excluding them, what is the population of the residents that want to, if you will, live permanently in West Boylston, not for 2.5 years or 6 months or 3 months or whatever the case may be? You understand what I'm saying?
I do, and what I'm saying is it's premature for us to decide how we're gonna present ourselves in those grant applications until we know which agencies we're going for funding for.
By the way, do you have expertise in grant writing?
No, I do not. No, and if I did,
He saw that you comment.
So let me just recap this slide again. The senior population, the adult population, older adult population is growing in West Boylston, contributing to the need. The COA, Council on Aging, after the Bethlehem Bible Church vote, went out and looked at 14 properties, both private and publicly owned, town-owned, and through a process of elimination, settled on 3, and finally settled on the mixed property as the best site to put a new senior center. The reasons were the property is already town-owned, so there'd be no property removed from tax rolls. It's located within 2 miles of the town common. All utilities are already on the site. In addition, we have an easement to Horseshoe Drive for the sewer. We would add value to the 13.7 acre property in terms of, we're already talking with the Open Space Committee about the possibility of joint grant applications to increase the amenities on the site, both near this new senior center and around the entire site. And we will provide additional parking for current users of the ball fields, which will be preserved. Here's a bird's eye view. Let me just orient everybody. This out here is Sterling Street. This is the new police station. This is the site, the Mixter site. This is Prescott Street. The new center would sit something like this in here. This is the north side. This is the south. The ball fields will be preserved. Much of this is conservation area, result of wetlands. So that's how it would be oriented on the site. We want to emphasize that this will be a building open to active community use. As I mentioned before in my opening remarks, the Girl and Boy Scout meetings are possible, all sorts of events, youth sports, meetings and events, youth recreation classes, performances of all kinds, lectures, and town meetings, town election, and much more. Only the imagination and the scheduling restricts what could be done. The architect's conceptual plan gave us, as I told you, 8,500 net square feet, 10,300 gross square feet. And here is the rendering of the new senior center by the feasibility architect. Now, this rendering could change when the new architect is hired, when we get the funding. This is the north side, the entryway. This is the multi-purpose room. This is the kitchen serving the multi-purpose room. These are activity rooms back here. This is the south side with the patio and activity rooms. The library is right about here. Room where people can contemplate, read, be quiet. We're already talking about fundraising with bricks on the patio that will help us raise money to offset either capital costs or operating costs. In addition to that, we're talking about all sorts of fundraising possibilities. Recently mentioned was an auction that would be held at the manor with a gala auction, an event sometime in the next year or so. This is the floor plan. Again, the north side, the patio on the south side, the library, the multi-purpose room, which, by the way, can be divided. It's 250 occupancy for performance, 150 for 210 and 150. 210 for performances, 150 for lunches and dinners. This is the kitchen. And this is the room I told you about, the wellness room, which has toiletry and plumbing facilities so that the doctor or the nurse doesn't have to walk all the way across to the restroom to wash every time they work with a patient. Again, this plan was designed by Lisa, our director, who's an architect. Here's a case study of Rockland, Mass. Notice that when they built this, began to build this senior center, they had about 8,000 visitations, about the same as us. 8,000. Once they built the center, it went up to 21,000, or 20,171. In 2017, they expect it to be 37,000. So if we build it, they will come is probably true. Our research indicates, Bob Chisholm did the research from the Council on Aging, indicates that anytime you build a new senior center or renovate a building for a new senior center, the attendance and visitations go up markedly. So, what we're talking about here is phase 2. Phase 1 is already done. We got a preliminary price estimate. We got the floor plan and the rendering. Now, what we need is funding to hire an owner's project manager. We need to contract for an architect who will do the drawings, construction drawings that will allow us to go out for competitive bid. And the bids will come back and we will have a firm price that we can work with the general contractor to get an estimate about how much the building will cost to construct. And we will return to a special town meeting probably later on the year to get the construction funding. And now we come to the finances, and I turn it over
I
to
think Ray should do it.
Ray.
Finance committee is gonna do it at town meeting, right? You're gonna be at town meeting?
I'll be there, but I wasn't aware that we were doing it.
Well, I mean, you're the finance rep from the, for the FISP.
I'm okay with it,
Oh,
we
I
just
know.
haven't talked about
You
it.
made it.
Just gonna want to raise.
All right, well, Phil, thanks. I appreciate the good job getting all the details of the center together. So obviously, the two key financial elements that we need to get our hands around with the new senior center are what are the capital costs, you know, the big upfront expenditure, and what are the operating expenses, so the year-to-year expenses. So as Phil mentioned, the initial concept we funded already, and that is now complete. That was $10,000. The pre-construction costs. So this is anything and everything that would be required to have a hard number to go to a special town meeting, special town election in the fall to seek funding. Right now, based on the conceptual design that the architect has given us, his financial analysis, and some support from our current OPM, we're projecting the construction costs at about $5.4 million. So, and this is a really important point I can't emphasize enough. At the town meeting next week, the voters are going to be asked to approve the $1.1 million pre-construction phase. That's all that's going to be on the warrant for now. But citizens of town have to look at this as if they're spending $6.5 million. The worst possible outcome would be to fund phase 2 and then not opt to go ahead and build the senior center. So I think everybody really needs to look at it from that standpoint. What's it going to cost? So those are the actual dollars and cents for the project itself. But for a typical homeowner with a house valued at nominally $250,000, the average costs between the pre-construction, the phase 2, and the construction, phase 3, will be about $138 per year. Now this is the average, assuming we bond for 20 years and 4 3/8% bond rate, which we believe is pretty conservative. Now they're not linear. When we actually do the bonding, the first year this is about $170 per year. The last year it's in the 90s. So it's not linear, but this is the average, so you have a sense of what it's really going to be to you. On the operating expense side, we've got some hard numbers in here that we can use. For instance, utilities. The $37,000 figure is for this building, which is going to be about the same size. So it's certainly a good estimation point. The number for the insurance of $8,000 came from our insurance agent. The maintenance line item we're putting in $4,000. As a general rule of thumb, we put in just under $10,000 per year for each building, but this is going to be brand new, so we would not expect to really need that much. In later years, that'll be $9,900. The service line here, and I realize I'm jumping around a little bit, we're going to be adding some time for the janitor to take care of the building. We already have one at the senior center, so this is just the increase in the amount of monies we would need to spend. And we've added a nominal increase in supplies. Obviously, we expect the center to be used more and the number of supplies required to be more. So in year one, it's nominally $56,000. In the balance of the years, it'll be $62 and change. But we are leasing right now at Hartwell Street. So that's just under $37,000 a year. So the net change in operating expenses, we expect to be around $20,000 the first year, $26,000 years after. John, you want to take that?
Thank you.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Sure.
As it stands now, do you believe the finance committee is going to ask for the voters to approve that?
Actually, the finance committee did take up this issue in committee, and we will be issuing a finding that this is a discretionary spend, and it's really up to the citizens whether they choose to fund this. It's well within the town's ability to borrow. It will not affect our bond rating. It's just, do the voters choose to pay an extra $140?
So you're going to remain neutral, basically?
We would comment on things like, is there any imperfection in the planning and the finances? There's no imperfections here. It's really just, do we want to buy this?
I want to say that if you remain neutral, obviously, it's not advantageous for that being approved.
Well,
That's my opinion.
An endorsement would represent.
I understand. I understand your position. I understand your position. Certainly I do. But I'm just saying, without your backing, here's what my opinion is. I'll state my opinion. Without your backing, I don't know what type, it's not advantageous, let me say, for that being approved by the voters. That's my opinion.
Can I ask, Ray, what did you folks do on this police station? The same thing?
It was a little bit of a different analysis because there was a huge liability issue.
But did you guys make an opinion on that?
We did articulate that it was discretionary, but there's serious liability concerns, and that if we don't get in front of those, there's some real problems that could come.
Can I also ask another question? If anybody remembers, I'm sure we're still in the process of it, so hopefully Kate may remember. From the initial step to the final step, of which is not complete, but we know what the cost supposedly be. What did it cost for the police station to be built? And I know it wasn't our land. It wasn't our land, was it?
No.
Yes, it was.
Oh, yeah, we don't, town owns the land, yes.
Okay.
The total cost of the police station, you mean?
Yes.
5.2 million.
5.18.
So 5.2 million for a police station, public safety, and this is costing 6.5 million? This is costing $1.3 million more?
Well, the biggest thing is inflation for 2 years. In my
Well,
opinion.
that really is good inflation. I wish my stocks would go up like that.
So,
We're still in the building phase of the police station. Yes, we've got the sheet rock going up in a week or two or whatever. But we're not that far off from, in regards to timeframes as to when we want to start this here and when the police station will end. I just think that, especially if it's, and I'm not going to be there, unfortunately, I'm not going to be there Monday. I'll be out of the state. I'll be in the state of Texas. But I wish that I didn't go to the state of Texas. But anyhow, I shouldn't say that. But yeah, that's going to be a hard nut to crack. Knowing in a police station certainly was needed. Absolutely, I was a major proponent of passing the police station funding. But this is still quasi, and a lot of people I know are objecting to the location of it because it's not much of a distance than it was to that other church that we were considering buying. Maybe it was a mile difference, but where you have to literally, go over the reservoir and stuff like that, it's just something that, I think you're gonna have a tough time, and you certainly, if the finance committee doesn't back it, just think it may be a kiss of death.
Bernie, in regards to where it's located, we've met with over 100 people at these meetings, and not one person has, and to any of us,
Okay,
has
well,
questioned the
You
location.
should go on Facebook and stuff like that and see the.
100 plus that we've met with.
You know,
Have not.
I don't have a problem with it in regards to location, because I'm still capable of driving, and it doesn't, you know, but if I.
Wherever it is, people will drive to it, so.
Can I get you 1 second, just Kate, do you have something?
That is a very valid point, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna bring that up, is location. So I didn't know if we had a plan in place about maybe shuttles. I know I came to this committee kind of later, maybe mid. If we had, and I know people might ask, are there gonna be shuttles to this type of facility?
But if I can just, anywhere it is, it's gonna be a couple miles one way or the other.
For sure.
Someone,
I'm just curious about
people are gonna
shuttles.
need to get dropped off.
For people in Angel Brook and stuff like that, with all due respect, it may be, but if you got a lot of people that live near the center of town and stuff like that, they're very walkable, and, you know, but.
Does the director maybe?
I'm just stating some things that may come up for objections.
It seems to me, up to 10 years ago, the seniors were able to get there without any problem at
I
all.
was there for
And
years.
if we had kept it there, if the building hadn't fallen apart, they would still be going there, so I don't see why that'd be a problem.
That's a good point. Lisa, you have some point?
We do have the senior van that's in town. Okay. That works. That's my
But
question.
also, we also know that people drive to other senior centers out of town. So
Yes.
if they go to other places out of town, they'll be able to go to this. And to, if you're, going back to your question too, these numbers are estimated and not concrete numbers. We won't know actual numbers until.
Well, I very seldom see in projected plans that the number drops down with the cost of living and stuff like that. So I think that the projected cost of $6.5 million with what I'm seeing is probably right on. I don't think it's gonna drop down to 6.2, but, 5.5. And if it did, it probably didn't make that much of a difference to the people. But it's a valid point, the driving to Mixter was not a problem, but maybe it was a problem, we didn't know it. You know, we didn't know what it was 10 years ago, if it was a problem for a lot of people. Now you have Angel Brook. We didn't have Angel Brook 10 years ago. All right, that has 250 people, I believe?
They all drive.
132 units.
132 units, so I think you said about 250.
Yep.
And plus we have,
Hillside of the streets about
Highland,
112.
what is it?
Hillside.
The Heights, well, that was 10 years ago, but at the same time, you got a lot of elderly, and I'm included in it, by the way. Elderly people that may not want to traverse that far, I don't know. But what's important is that you have to have answers for this, because you're gonna have more than 100 people, hopefully, at the town meeting. You have to have answers for this. So look at all the negatives, which one, you're certainly looking at the positives, so I don't think I have to take a look at the positives. Look at the negatives and come up for answers for the negatives to make it a positive. By not having a finance committee backing this, again, I think it may be the kiss of death. If you remain neutral, you remaining neutral may signify to the people, well, they have a lot of reservations too. I'm just suggesting, okay?
All right, can we just finish these things, and we're gonna have some questions, then we'll have some more questions, so. All right, so what we have to do next, phase 2, Monday night's meeting is gonna go in front of the town voters, and we're gonna vote at town meeting. We need a 2/3 vote. And then,
Excuse me, what time is it? Is it 7?
7 o'clock. And then we're gonna go to the ballot on June 6th. That's a simple majority. So we're gonna have 2 votes, and the election's gonna happen whether it gets approved at town meeting or not, because the elections is already on the ballot. So we're gonna vote at town meeting, and we're also gonna vote at the election box on June 6th. And then, once we get that approved, phase 3, late fall this year, takes about 5 months, 5.5 months to get the architectural plans done, bids in, and we know how much it's gonna cost us. We're gonna schedule a town meeting, come back then, and we're also gonna have to go to ballot box again. You need to do both things every time you do a debt exclusion. So I just want everybody to understand that. So that's our next project. So we're gonna target for completion date in 2019, 2 years from now. We are figuring 6% for construction inflation because construction is so busy right now. Everybody in the world is building something somewhere. That's why the inflation is so much. Because we're figuring 6% per year, so it's 12% in 2 years. That's a big difference. That's the difference in the money.
Yeah.
All right, so Chris has some questions that a lot of people have asked at other town meetings, other meetings. He's gonna answer those, and we're gonna take some other questions you have.
Okay, everybody here has these, but people that might be watching on TV. Some of the questions we've got, we started at meeting 1 with no questions, and now we're up to like 28, and we'll probably add a few more after tonight. One of the questions, where can we get more information on the senior center? You can go to the town's website, www.westboylston-mass.gov/senior center project. Just go to the town's website and go right to the top and you can find it. And then some of the other questions have been answered. Where will the septic for the senior center be? We're gonna hook the town sewer on Horseshoe Drive. So we're not gonna have an issue with septic, it's gonna be town sewer. Will other residents be able to use it? We've talked about that. Sizes of other senior centers around, Sterling is 6,450, and our understanding is they're already talking about expansion in Sterling. And then Holden's 9,100. Will we use the same architect that we used for this phase? The answer is we're going out for architects all over again, so the answer is we don't know who we're gonna use. So we're gonna talk to different architects. Grants, we've talked a lot about grants. There's one other thing is, we have 2 grant writers in town that help us, and they're gonna look for every possible grant for senior centers. If it's the smallest grant to make one of the rooms a craft room, we're gonna get it. We're gonna try to get all of them. The lease for Hartwell Street, whatever happens with building this, we have the option of staying a little longer or breaking the lease. So that's not an issue at all. I think that's all. And there's other questions here, but I think most of them have been answered already at the meeting. So now we'll just go to any questions here. If anybody needs to go to a slide to talk about it with questions, we can do that.
One thing I just want to answer about the grants is we can't get any grants until we get construction, $1.1 million, because we can't even apply to them until we have our construction bid documents ready to go, and then we can apply for grants, but we can't do anything, so we can't count on any grants. We have to count on having the money first. We cannot count on grants to bring the price down. We hope it does, but we can't count on it, because we don't actually have the grants yet. This is why we need the money first, and then we can, whatever we get would come down off the price. And we only borrow what we need.
Okay, is that for all grants, or is that just community development? Is that energy grants? Is that all grants, or is?
So far, community development grants, you need to have the design completed
Sure.
and town meeting vote of approval of the project.
Okay.
For some of the foundation grants, the ones that we've researched so far that seem viable, they require, again, that you have the design in place and the town meeting approvals.
But what about that 1.1 you were saying?
That's what
That's what that was? Okay.
All right, so,
What happens if the vote at town meeting doesn't get the 2/3, but the ballot in June 6th wins?
then we would have another town meeting, and we'd schedule another town meeting to get, hopefully get 2/3 vote.
How many people usually attend the town meeting?
About 120, 150, usually under 150.
100 is a quorum, so we have to have 100 to start.
Maybe more this time, probably.
We'll have a quorum,
Yeah,
sure.
We'll definitely have a quorum.
Oh, can I ask you something about the construction? I was just wondering, you know how they have all the different rooms? Are they gonna have like movable walls where, say, in an activity room, they need like to open it up so they can?
The big room right there will have walls that, partitions that can divide it.
Those walls, like the ones way on the right, with on the bottom, like, would there be a portable wall?
No, these will be open room for crafts and tables and things will be in there. These will be, there's a couple pool tables they're planning.
Oh, I.
So this room here will be able to be broken out,
That can be
smaller.
One set of bathrooms, Chris?
Oh, no, I believe there's,
Well, plus for the nurse, I think they said,
On the
they
right
said
hand
there's
side.
one, I
Well,
didn't see all the way.
yeah, right over here.
Yeah.
There's sink in the,
Is there any more?
Right there, right
What's that say?
there. I think I can't see it.
The wellness room's on the right hand
On the
side.
top.
Is the bathroom shown there?
Yeah, right here.
No,
Two.
that's for the main people.
Well, it's gonna have plumbing in it for a sink and
Yeah, I don't think
wash
it's gonna have
it.
bathrooms.
And please, this is, this.
Preliminary
this is
plan.
Conceptual.
Right.
I mean, this will be fine tuned and,
Right.
try and do it a little more, but this is conceptual.
We already have some, in regards to this plan, people have brought up some great points that we're gonna probably move to next phase about this building, maybe changing things or adding things, but that's still, that can still be done. A new architect can come and say, I don't think that's the way it should be done.
Good.
The net square footage of 8,500, what, it was mentioned on this paper that came in the mail, that it's a guideline for our current population. And if our elder population continues to increase, would that mean that in another 5 to 10 years, we would need additional space?
We're confident this is good for the next 20 years.
20 years, so this maybe was not 100% current population.
What?
This says that 8,500 square feet is recommended as a guideline for our current population by the Department of Elder Affairs.
So we feel this building will suit us for the next 20 years.
Current to 20.
Excuse me?
The current, it'll phase the current amount of population and then
Yeah.
till the next 20-year population projection.
I think it was worded, I know what you mean.
That's 8,500 square feet of usable space.
Yes.
Correct.
10,200 square feet of like electrical areas.
Walls, everything.
Right, so that should be brought up.
Stairwells.
Yeah.
That should be brought up.
It's right there. That's what Phil even said it a couple times.
Now, and this may be trivial, but the town hall in Holden is, what, 9,400?
What, the senior center's 9,100?
Senior center in Holden is 9,400. Is that including non-usable space, or we don't know?
We don't
I
know.
don't know.
We don't know, okay.
We'll get the answers to that, though.
Yeah, that's good.
Lisa, how do you?
Holden has, what, 20,000 people? Holden has 19,000, 20,000 people.
Yeah,
so-
much more.
She's gonna find
And there are older adult populations, 3,100.
31, yeah, so they're about the same as us. No, they're not.
Oh, Poland?
No, they're not.
A lot more, yeah.
Getting back to location, I think it's a great location, that's just my opinion. But I talked to seniors like live on my street, and they go to the senior center, and they said that they travel all the way to the Auburn Senior Center.
Wow.
They said it's beautiful, I don't know, I've never been to that one, or the Worcester one or whatever. So if they're willing to go to Auburn in Worcester, I mean,
They're
this
gonna
is a
drive.
mile or two up the street, I mean, it doesn't make sense. So-
Well, it's certainly time for West Boylston to have their own senior center. I mean, we
Oh,
put it
no,
off
that's what I'm
long
saying,
enough.
we should have our own, you know?
Absolutely.
And I have to commend you, I think you guys did a great job, women do, get a great job doing all this, it's not clear anyway.
Any other questions? We'd love to have them now for a town meeting.
Get all your negatives covered,
Mhm.
if you can, the best you can.
Thank you.
But you certainly have the positives covered.
Thank you, everybody, so much for coming, really appreciate it. This is gonna be on, building,
Cable access.
Cable access.
Channel 194. Oh, remember that 40 number?
Oh,
yeah. That's what it's gonna cost me every day, 40 cents.
Okay.
To do what?
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks.
All right.
We need to vote the CNB amendment number 3.
Can I make 3 quick points about the presentation?
Sure.
Phil, the Meals on Wheels, you said there's 6,000, the kitchen is inadequate, but we still delivered 6,000 Meals
Oh,
on
and I
Wheels.
forgot to put it in,
You got-
they have to be delivered to the...
Right, make sure you say that the meals are prepared off-site.
Off-site, right.
Slide number 12 is the new slide.
Yep.
there's half the slides in title case, half the slides in sentence case, so there's like random capitalized words. If we could fix that, and then you said Lisa designed this. I wouldn't say that, I would
Right.
I
say
agree.
I agree.
Lisa played an integral part in the design based on her past experience working with the architect, but don't say she designed it, because God forbid.
Yeah.
It
So-
has Catherine's name right on it.
Yeah,
Needs
So
to be
that was
a
it.
registered architect.
Okay,
No.
thank you, Pat.
I would say the name too, Caitlin. and-
yeah.
What's that?
I would say the name of the architect, Caitlin.
Okay, yeah.
So
I
that would
usually
be,
have said that in the past too, that he is.
So like lectures is capitalized randomly,
Yeah, but performances of all kind, comma, lectures, so those are two different things, I'm guessing.
all right, then you got town meeting, town election, why is the election,
town meeting,
election shouldn't be
I
capitalized?
know what you mean. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Don't delete it all.
Nope.
Maybe it's just that one, I was looking at it briefly and I was writing down my comment.
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
Thank you, Pat. Anything else on that? Anybody else have anything on the slide presentation?
what about the endorsements?
Endorsements?
Slide is there?
So I know that the planning board was going to be discussing it tonight. Open space I still have not heard from, but there's many members of the open space committee are also members of the open space.
Of the planning board.
Excuse me, planning board, thank you.
So, in regards to that, why don't we, for a town meeting, when the board is,
Right.
we'll announce the groups that endorsed it.
Yeah,
And to that point, the town clerk and I met with the moderator the other night just for, town meeting preparation. And while I have on the motion sheets that the Board of Selectmen have voted to endorse this, the moderator will still be asking town meeting floor which committees have endorsed it. So the
Right.
selectmen will need to say, Board of Selectmen have voted to endorse.
so yes,
Yeah.
Planning board, if they agree to, is gonna need to say, planning board voted to endorse. Council on Aging is gonna
Right.
need to say, council on Aging voted to endorse.
Are we allowed to?
Yes, he'll be specifically asking the question, which committees voted to endorse?
Well, what's the committee that you said?
Council on Aging.
Council on
Council
Aging.
on Aging,
How about the Friends?
The Friends group?
yeah. Not,
They're not technically a town committee,
Okay.
but they certainly can weigh in.
So Phil, you said that you were gonna work on funding for brick movement, a brick walkway. When would the timeline for something like, it seems sort of, like, that seems like a kind of like an additive to the project. What would the timeline be for that? I'm wondering because I think there are alternatives to that where we could get almost that 100% funded through porous pavement instead of brick. But we need that 1.1 and a lot of other little things. So I'm wondering if we could wait to do the funding for the bricks and laying that type of stuff.
You mean,
All that stuff would be after.
examples, those are just examples
Examples.
of a group that is currently fundraising, that looking to fundraise. That's one of the examples.
Okay,
We're not gonna do anything till we get the 1.1 in
right.
the election, then,
Just to be clear, we're not looking for funding for bricks.
Right.
The bricks are the funding. You
Right.
get your names engraved and
Yeah, you
paid.
pay $50 for a $10 brick.
I'll say it's something like, among the things being discussed are,
right.
Fundraising,
you know,
fundraising
Selling
ideas.
bricks
So
in the patio.
is that how you're planning on paying for a walkway? Is that the name, 'cause that's kind of
I think
a
that-
pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Well, you have to understand, we're not planning on paying, but we gotta have the money up front first, and whatever we raise comes off it. So if it's $6.5 million and we raise $150,000 through grants and other stuff, we're gonna spend $6,350,000.
We're gonna borrow.
We're gonna borrow, I mean. So,
I think the important thing is that once we get to the point where town meeting has approved it and we're moving ahead with an architect on design, that's when fundraising committee will start to become very active, and we'll want to make sure that we have this level of discussion then, at that point. Okay, what's the priority? What are the best options for developing funding for this portion of the project versus this portion of the project? So it's kind of, we're not ready to have that specificity yet.
So your grant writing process is not in the near future, not immediate?
It will ramp up as soon as town meeting and the ballot approve this project.
Okay. Because I would
That
love
means
to help with that.
the entire amount or this 1.1?
1.1.
1.1. If we get town meeting and the ballot to approve this, we will start identifying and preparing applications for grant funds.
Yeah, but even if we get it, we won't have any document until the
phase, until we go to the another town
Right,
meeting.
but it's gonna take a
Start
while, Raj,
looking-
it takes a
start
while to
looking
get
for-
these applications
Yeah,
going,
yeah,
and we need
start
to ramp
looking.
it up as soon as the votes.
Yeah, but this bricks and all, bricks and Maynard, those things, he can start as soon as it is done.
That's just to clarify, that has nothing, the fundraising is a whole other,
yes,
we have
that's
no
what I'm
control.
saying.
If they raise, just as an example, if they raise $100,000 in the brick fundraising project that they do,
Sure.
that's gonna, you still need to
One will
raise
drop it
the
in
$6.4 million.
Yeah.
And if he gets $100,000, then you can either put it into your contingency, in whatever you don't spend, you give back to the town, like we've said in every other project
We
we've
just
done.
won't spend it.
That's all, you don't spend it.
And just,
That's all.
and just so the public knows, I mean, we're looking for the amount to pay for this project. We don't have a great track record of getting huge grants in this town. Town administrators said that, we're gonna try it like we always do. The police department gets a lot of small grants, the fire department does, I'm sure the school gets grants. But, you know, major grants,
I know.
just,
from-
we just
yeah.
think, we're talking a lot about grants like this is gonna save the cost of this project.
Even if we get a grant, we don't know how much.
And it may
Is it
be a
going to
grant,
2 million? No.
it may be a grant that's not in this funding. They may find a grant that will help purchase something that they weren't even planning about, but they're gonna get.
It could be for a barbecue outside or something like that, it could be for
Anything.
anything.
Unless, Phil's donates 2 million, that's
That's
all.
right, well, he might do that, we never know.
I
Get
just-
all the money out.
I read in the banner, I think it was a couple months back, that West Boylston's working towards becoming technically a green community, getting that title of being a green community. And I know that if you do have that title and you do serve that environmental justice component, that you are, so many more grants are open to you. So we don't have the track record for that simply because we weren't, doing very progressive things in this community before. But now that we're starting to work towards that title, I think that there's a lot of options for us. And I know that we're gonna have a ton of guys like that are gonna ask, why is it $1.5 million more than the police station? They're gonna ask those questions. So, and he made a good point about, answering the negatives, because they are gonna ask them.
Well, the answer to the why is it $1.2 million more is not just that we use the 6% escalator. We relied on a professional architect that gave us this number.
Right.
We took that number and we had it validated by our owner's project manager on the police station. And we didn't do that last time. Last time with the police station, we got a number and we said, great, thank you. We validated this number. This is the number that the professional said it was going to cost. That's what the cost of construction is.
Actually
So-
increased what he thought. We
How do
increased
you-
it from the architect.
Yeah.
Tony thought we needed to add a little bit more.
Yeah, but how are you going to answer this? So now this 1.1 million, we are approving it. So can you guarantee the next phase you are going to ask is 5.4?
No.
Not 7 million?
No, what I can, the answer to that is no. What I can
Because-
guarantee you is, the number that we come back with, the next phase,
That's one of the questions.
here's the answer. The number we said it's an estimate.
So
The
you
number
could
we're
come
gonna come
back-
back with the next phase is gonna be a hard number. The estimate of that number is right now $5.4 million. The $1.1 million is, we're confident that it's going to cover all of these costs. And if you look at the ballot, the question, it says construction. We have built in a contingency on that, so we will not be short. Anything that is left over from that $1.1 million will offset any of the ask for the next.
It will offset the 5.4 million.
Yeah, I totally agree on that, but, so we could always say the estimated 5.4 million would be a very good educated or the
We have.
estimation.
We did, it's an estimate from our architect.
We don't, can we say that we don't expect more than 5.4 million?
No.
Drastically increase in 5.4 million?
No,
I think what we say is the best we can say. We don't wanna lie.
Yeah.
We're saying what we say.
I think the best thing to say is that it's a number that's based on known information we have at this time, that includes very high, conservatively high escalation factors in there, and it includes conservatively high contingency cushions, almost double what normally would be expected for a project. So including a compounded 12% escalation increase and including, almost double a typical project contingency value, that's where I think we have some comfort level that this is the best number that we can predict at this time.
That's one of those questions circulating.
All right,
What about there was one other question.
Can I just, a couple of things?
Sure.
for Phil? You say that I designed the plan with the architect. I think you have to stop saying that.
He-
because that's what
We already
you're
said.
saying.
We already told him that.
$1,000 on.
Yeah,
I already,
Consulted with him.
Right.
I've already been corrected, Lisa, and I
that
know
was
exactly
point
what
number
you said.
3.
Okay, thank you. And
Consulted
also-
with the whole group, you can say, the whole.
Yeah, consulted with him and with my
Right.
background, I know the program,
Right.
stuff like that, but he did the
Right.
design
Yes.
with the money that we
Right.
spent. Also, the COA did not go out and investigate the properties. It was a citizens building committee that formed. After
Subcommittee.
that, they're the ones that did the investigation and then came to the COA and then we went to the FISP.
Okay,
And I think that's important too, know that with citizens that actually went out and looked at
Okay.
this.
thank you, Lisa.
Okay.
Can I
Chris?
just to clarify, because I think there was a little confusion, is the finance committee gonna make the financial?
I don't know.
So we need to.
The finance committee would not.
No, but
So
you as,
you
the- I
from the
think you as the
I'm,
rep.
I'm happy to, if that's.
That's what I
you
mean,
want.
that's because, yeah, Pat
You're a
gave
very
it to you.
credible source of information
Right.
for those slides.
Yes,
I don't know
so,
about very credible, but I can talk.
so you will do it then, that's,
Okay,
Sure.
from, okay.
If that's the collective
Yes.
desire, no problem.
That's
Great.
fine.
okay.
So there is one other question, it's good question. What is the distance from the current, the mixer building, if we build a senior center, and the Sterling Senior Center?
Distance from West
Distance?
Boylston
Why?
to Sterling?
About a mile?
2 miles.
So they already know the answer, what do we need a question
Why we
for?
need that?
But why would anybody ask how long it is
So-
to
Yeah.
Sterling?
So,
'Cause they can
this
use
is, the question, it's not my question.
Can't use Sterling, because
Circulate.
Sterling, we've asked
So
Sterling
if-
before to use theirs, and they said no.
Yes.
Okay.
And
well,
also,
that's
you
the
know,
answer.
they are trying to expand. Is there any, our town can ask them to expand a little more so that they can accommodate? This is one of those questions,
Town of West Boylston deserves their own
they don't want us,
senior
they
center.
don't want us.
And our seniors don't want to go there.
That-
No,
The
I
other,
think,
the other issue is they're a different region, they're a different ASAP, so they have a different group that does their food than we do.
Okay,
Meals on Wheels, we couldn't share
That-
it.
that's a good point. There you go.
Those
That's a good
things we
point.
need.
So
Okay.
some senior centers allow outsiders to come in and some don't, like Auburn allows us,
no,
but Sterling
these,
wouldn't.
no, I think
They
they
can-
allow, they allow.
Oh, okay.
But she's saying the Meals on Wheels comes from a different
Different
coordination.
region, yeah, it's different, it's fun, the Meals on Wheels are funded to each region. We can't regionalize the food, we can't have it. If we regionalize.
I don't think we should get
can't
into
have our
why.
students get it.
I think if that question comes up, we just say, the Sterling Senior Center is at capacity. They're talking about expanding. We've been talking about building a senior center for 10 years.
It's time to do it.
Who knows if they're gonna expand or not, and we haven't had a senior center in 10 years. This is the senior center we're presenting to you,
I
and just
agree.
stop the discussion.
I agree.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so I had forwarded an email to Anita and John on behalf of the Finance Committee with a couple of questions. One was about, is there going to be any impact on our bond rating with the additional borrowing? And the answer was no. But the other part was rationalizing the difference in dollars per square foot. Because even with the inflation pulled out, we're paying $5.10 a square foot right now for the police station. You pull out the 700K 12% inflator off the 6.5, and we're at 5.8. So it's still 600K more for substantially simpler construction, even if you backdate the finished dates of the construction.
So you're talking about, you did a square footage for the whole project, not, you didn't do a soft cost, or anything, you just added the whole thing,
Just the final number.
final number.
The whole kit and caboodle. And so the Finance Committee, as part of its responsibility, is to try to assess, do the numbers make sense? Whether the town chooses to buy it or not is clearly a discretionary expense, but if somebody were to ask the Finance Committee, what do you think of 6.5 million? I can't provide an answer I'm comfortable with, I would think based on the difference in construction, it should be, you know, even with inflation, maybe it's a similar cost. I can't rationalize, even with a 12% de-escalation, how we get to the 5.7 million, 5.8 million.
Has the finance committee spoke about how, if that question's asked, what's gonna
We
be
have
said?
not.
Okay, so, are you gonna meet before town meeting?
Very briefly, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think, to tell you the truth, I think this group is as surprised at the number as the people, the public are. But we've hired architects, we've put the best number together. I don't know what more we can say. Why is it different? We know construction's a lot busier today it was than when we went out to bid for the police station.
We've already accounted for that. I can't get to the number in a way that makes sense to me, so I haven't been able to explain it to the finance committee in a way that.
Well, how much, there's additional contingent, above the 6%, I believe there are, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there are, for the unknown, the contingencies are more. So when you're bidding, you add a 10% contingency. When you're estimating, you add a 20% contingency. I mean, so if you,
Is that the answer?
I believe
don't
so.
know.
I don't have the numbers in front of me either. But if you recall, when we did a side-by-side comparison with Catlin's numbers versus Tony's numbers were higher, but also Tony's higher number ended up being 6.3 something, if I recall correctly. And there was a discussion by this committee that we should use the 6.5 number to give it an additional cushion for contingency.
and the contingencies themselves over, so that's one, but the contingencies themselves over the police station, again, I have to verify this, I'm doing this from memory, Ray, but if you look at what the contingency on, that we added to the bid we received versus the contingency on the estimates, it is a higher contingency. And from memory, I want to say it's 10 versus 20, but I'm not positive.
I think the biggest thing that, we don't want to go back and say we're short. We wanted to have enough up front and make sure we had enough, not only the total, but the 1.1 too. I feel there's gonna be plenty of money, there's gonna be money left over from that to go towards the construction. But we all felt we wanted to have enough. We wouldn't want to come back and say, we can't finish the plans because we're $100,000 short or something like that. That's why we did the $1.1 million, to give everyone breathing room. I think that's important for people to understand that.
Well, I don't disagree, but it doesn't answer the question. Even if we de-escalate an extra couple $100K of contingency, if you take a look at present day dollars, a senior center should not cost $510 per square foot, considering all of the funky stuff that has to go into a police station. It should be, I don't know, $460, $470, $480, $490, something less, versus what we're actually seeing. So, again, I can't answer the question in a way that I'm comfortable with. So it's an exposure. If somebody were to ask the finance committee for an opinion, I'm not sure what you're gonna get.
Lisa, is the interior, like, obviously everything, the furniture and everything like that, is there a lot of stuff inside the building that, no, okay.
Nothing.
And right now, I've.
4 walls and a roof.
425 is what I've got right now per square foot for the senior center type building,
You're talking just the built for construction costs?
construction costs.
Yeah, we're not talking about, he's not talking about construction costs, he's talking about total,
Total
6.5 divided by
I have the saw costs. and everything.
10.3, right?
There's not a lot in the building, no, other than the kitchen. Kitchen would be the most expensive thing.
It just goes to support that there should be more of a differential, and unfortunately, it doesn't help the argument, it exacerbates it. It's like, why is there so much
I don't know how
of a
we
difference?
answer that. I do not know how we get the,
I think we can only say that we got the experts gave us these numbers. I
Do we
don't
want
know.
to have a slide of the?
yes, I was just thinking that.
breakdown?
That's a good idea.
Slide of the what?
The breakdown from both of them.
That will raise a lot of,
The
You mean a
Tony,
comparison?
the Tony
I
asked.
wouldn't,
I
don't
wouldn't
think-
go there.
No, I don't think
You're
you're,
asking to be asked questions.
yeah, I don't think we want to do that at all.
Because that would confuse everybody.
I think that, I think what we've done with the, I think the
I
residents.
tell you what,
want
if that
us
question comes up, I have no problem fielding it. And I'll answer it and I'll just say, you know, what I've said, I'll say, there's extra contingencies built in. You know, can I give you an exact, no, it's an estimate, but here's where the estimate is from. This is what we're being told this building
From the
costs.
experts.
Okay.
That'll be the answer.
We should have something better for you, Ray.
And we don't. And that's the honest answer. I'm not gonna blow smoke and make stuff up. I'm
And
gonna say,
not that I'm using the meetings as the setting stone for everything, but that question did not come up at one meeting.
now
Not
that
that
it's on
this,
TV, it will.
yeah, that's fine, it can come, I hope it does come up,
I
so
know.
we can have to answer it, but up till now, the 100-plus people that we met with, no one made the comparison.
Because the population we met are all our seniors.
Oh, no, I don't believe
So
that
it's
was the
entirely
case.
different population on the town meeting.
Then
At least, you know.
all we can do is
They're like,
say what we
But
can
that's why
say.
we've had all these meetings, to reach out to everybody.
I totally understand.
The meetings are for everybody.
Yeah,
You can,
no,
we
I-
can only do what we can do. We've had, this is the 9th meeting?
Something like that.
Totally understand.
It's,
I'm just saying, you know,
Over 100, and I wouldn't say all of them were just seniors, because
Right.
I was at every one of them, and I don't think there was
I mean,
only seniors.
I'm pretty comfortable fielding just
Okay.
about any question about the finances. I may not, you know, I may not give the people the answer they want, but I'll be able to answer their question.
And I keep them, yeah, right, brief.
good.
And then the only thing I
Good
would
job.
ask, and I've asked this, is not that I'm telling the townspeople that this building's not big enough, but I don't think we should say, we feel it's okay for the next 20 years. Because there is no way this committee can tell the townspeople that we really deep down feel, we don't know what could happen in this town in the next 2 years, 5 years. I think you could say that we feel that this building for the future is in good shape, but I don't feel we can say 20 years. I just don't, I mean, we've done this before and we've gave numbers like that and they've backfired, you know, in 5 years something happens. I don't know the answer.
So keep it vague, say it'll accommodate future projected growth.
Because when we say 20 years, it's not by any scientific, you know, we're just saying for the next 20 years. How did you come to the 20 years?
If you go off the projections that they've been showing, the size is gonna almost quadruple in 20 years, for the
Yeah.
number of people participating,
So,
and that's, I mean,
I'm
that's.
just saying, the architects
that's a
had said
lot.
that he thought it was,
I don't recall
Not
the
only that.
architect ever saying this is.
how are you going to answer, or are we going to answer? Why the 2030, the population decreasing?
Because that's the experts that
And
did the
if the
study, it's a
population-
demographical study from the
If the
experts.
population decreases, you know, the revenue to the town also decreases.
We're becoming an
How
old
are you
man
going, huh?
community.
No, that's not
Becoming an Old
true.
man community.
Old man
Not-
community.
not
If the
young-
population
But the money,
decreases,
the tax dollar also decreases.
no, it doesn't.
no.
It absolutely does not.
Your property taxes do not decrease.
The only revenue that might decrease is your excise tax bills, because there might be less cars on the road. Excise tax bill is a very small portion of our revenue.
And also, you know, my question is, again, you know, it's my question. Why the population going to decrease? That makes no sense to me.
Because the secretary of the
Yeah, but,
Commonwealth
you
from the
know,
UMass Donahue
That's,
Institute said it was.
yeah, but I don't buy
It has
it.
to do with the generations, you know, you
Yeah.
have baby boomers coming up with 75 million, a generation after that,
Yep,
only 50
but,
million.
you know,
So there's gonna be less older adults.
This is only their analysis of what they feel that the town's gonna do.
I mean, we have, I don't know.
It's a credible outside source providing some guidance, and we don't need
That
to
raises the
rationalize
question.
it.
No, that raises the question. So they say, you know, conveniently, you are building a senior center, so conveniently.
Hold on, that's not gonna be, that's one person, that's Jay Given.
It's going to come.
But
It will come.
Jay Given is gonna pick everything that
No,
you
no,
do.
not only Jay
I
Given.
read the same thing.
No, not only Jay Given, if you would have read the other blocks, that question will come. No, I'm not,
We can answer that
I'm
question.
not arguing, or I'm not,
Well,
you know,
All
I'm
we
with
can
you.
say about this slide
Yeah,
is those groups did this analysis. If you like it, you don't wanna use it.
So
you wanna
maybe, you
use
know,
it, you wanna get a
no,
different
the
analysis.
way to phrase it, it could.
I think he does, I think.
It's
Phil
a
does.
projection.
It's a
Projection.
projection.
It's a projection.
Nothing's written in stone about it.
So that's, yeah.
All right, anything else on that? All right,
But we're good on how we're gonna do it. Now, when are we gonna do the full slide presentation at town meeting? That's been a question. Are we gonna cut it down?
Whatever, we need to give it to the town clerk tomorrow.
Okay,
So
so
if this
that's
is
the
what it is,
question.
then
Is
it
it the
needs to
full
be-
slide
I
presentation?
believe we should.
Yeah, the slide presentation, It's a lot shorter than Jay's full slide
I
presentation.
think we definitely gonna.
Really?
So we want to keep it, you
How many,
know,
how many
quick.
yours?
We want to try to keep it a little
Right.
quicker because it's,
How many slides yours?
There's only, how many slides? 15? 12, 15? Something like
No,
that?
I think it's 20,
23.
This
And
is-
also
it's
it will
20
be-
minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we keep it around 15 minutes, I think
Okay.
we're good. I mean,
Okay, thank you. I'll get this to the town clerk.
All right,
and you want this final slide presentation?
Yes, can you send that to?
We're not making any changes.
delete, yeah, delete
What about the
the
others?
future slide one, the
All the
one that says
meetings.
the next meetings?
All the meetings and, I can keep the one that says voting, yeah, town meeting and then
Right.
voting. I can change that to just
You could
voting.
send that to me.
No, what about the endorsement slide?
We're not putting a slide up.
We're not gonna
Each
put a
group's
slide.
gonna,
We're
each
gonna
group's
stand
going
up.
to,
But, just put the election, get rid of the, town meeting.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. So I'm getting rid of, I guess, we don't have to call that future voting. We can say that we've had all of these presentations before town meeting? Or do you want to just take it out completely? Just to tell the folks that
It might be a good
1,
idea
2,
to add
3,
that on
4,
there.
5,
Yeah.
6,
No.
7.
So we can say we
Yeah.
There's a
had all these
concerted
5
effort.
meetings.
Quickly, it's not gonna take up all of a minute. The committee has had these meetings,
Based on these meetings, we've developed the questions that you were handed that were out front tonight.
and I'm just, instead of future, I'm just gonna say voter informational sessions.
Okay.
And either before or the after, can we put some pictures just while the people are sitting there of the senior center?
On the screen, you mean?
On the screen.
Oh, you mean to run
Not
through-
included this.
Just to run through as they're
Yeah,
waiting for
just
the
to-
meeting to
Just
start.
to leave, yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the town clerk usually at that time will put up the motion and the question, and people are looking at that time. She won't,
No, but there will be some time,
You're talking about when the people
after
are filing in.
after the slideshow,
I don't
there should
think,
be some time.
I think that's a good idea, but I don't think we can have it to the town clerk by tomorrow morning, these photos.
Do
Where are we
need to-
getting the photos? What are the photos of, though?
Do you have any senior center photos before
Of the-
and after?
Current senior center?
Yeah.
Like,
The ones,
said-
the ones that are on the slide, you mean?
No,
Wants to show why,
yeah, like
to
that.
show why we need it,
Oh.
Why we need it.
what the
Oh.
So
conditions
it's,
are.
we are not talking, but, you know, when they are sitting there, even before the senior center, or,
yeah,
I did, we talked about that with Bob, right?
The ones that we have on the presentation, I can send.
Okay.
well, we got them on the presentation, yeah.
Okay. And we're gonna put those in the hallway coming in?
Those are,
And we'll be adding the rear
The
view.
rear view, yeah.
Large,
right.
large one as well.
yeah, I'm looking, I just brought these up, yeah.
So fielding of questions that come is gonna be ad hoc, whoever feels motivated to answer it is gonna answer it, or do we wanna assign roles?
Well, financial, Pat's gonna do.
I
Any
think-
general questions I'll answer, and I'll, whoever, I'll go towards me, and whoever I think, if I can't answer it, I'll give somebody to answer it.
It's the best way to handle it, because you
Yeah.
don't know what's gonna be thrown
Right.
at us.
All right, we also have with that? That part?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, we got something about invoice?
We need to vote a recommendation on the amendment number 3 to the C&B contract. The amendment number 3 was in your packet, increases their fee, their total project fee by $5,400 to cover the additional cost of that drainage work associated with the Mass DOT issue.
And just so everybody knows, that was an absolute nightmare, and it was, everybody did a lot, but it was a big job trying to get that done.
I make a motion that we, pay the $5,400.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Does anybody know, we have an anticipated variance of just positive of roughly 94,000? Is that including that or not including that?
This includes, this.
This assumes
The
we
updated
vote-
budget assumes the.
Assumes yes to
The
that.
change order.
And when Tony went through this, the number sounds valid, and they're charging 100 and change an hour, so this is like 50 hours of work.
I can tell you the hours, and I don't know the number of hours that they physically did. I can tell you the number of hours that I spent going to meetings with them. I'm not the one who had to put pencil to paper. These guys spent a lot of time fighting, phone calls, going back and forth with the state's engineers. To tell you what the hours were, I can't. I can tell you that they spent a lot of time going back and forth.
This was
It was a horror show.
it was a horror show.
Horror
It
show.
was a
We
nightmare.
were looking at a potential of about $35,000 or $39,000 increase.
At one time, we wanted to put guardrails up, stuff like that, so it is a savings.
So it was a horror show.
All right, any other discussion there? All in favor? One thing that was brought up was the spare loom on the site. A contractor stopped by and wanted to know if the town wanted to sell it. I myself am not in favor of that, because we need it, the DPW needs it, and the cemetery needs it, so.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's a question for this committee. It would have to go to surplus, it would have to go through a process, so. As of now, the Board of Selectmen would have to,
Do we even want to bring it to, we don't even want to bring it to.
no, I don't think it, until the town thinks it's surplus.
The plan had been that any surplus loan was gonna go to DPW for DPW use on future projects, roadside, improvements, whatever. The cemetery department has also expressed interest if there's any remaining loan. I'm just putting this question to you, and we don't even need to talk about it tonight, but I did get a phone call from this vendor. He wanted to know if the town would be interested in selling. So obviously, it's not a question I can answer. I need to put it to this group to determine if there's even any interest in moving ahead.
I don't think it's up to this committee, though, to do that. I think that would have to go, Anita, wouldn't that have to go in front of the Board of Selectmen?
First, we need to find out from this committee if there's gonna be any leftover loan.
I don't think we can't give that answer right now.
Until the completion of.
Yeah, we don't know.
Close
I
to
guess,
at least to the
At 20 bucks a
completion.
yard, it's not worth it.
I think it's an unknown right now what we're gonna do with the loan.
But I don't think we'd want to give sell it to anybody, at anything.
From
And if
John
they're
saying
coming
we
to the town
haven't
for it, the
needed-
guy wants it for $5 a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so we just,
I'm gonna say no interest at this time.
Did we vote on the invoice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm losing my mind.
anything else?
What are we gonna do? We have the proposals from the OPMs for the senior center. And I've sent the link to those proposals to all of you. I don't know if any of you have reviewed those yet, but we need to decide how we're gonna go about selecting the firm to use. Do we wanna wait until after town meeting and maybe have a special meeting just for the purpose of discussing those proposals?
I think that would be appropriate. I don't think we should vote, we should look at them yet until we have the money from town meeting.
Yeah, we have an evaluation rubric that exists, right? It's just a matter of maybe we tweak it and just go through the same process, right?
Yeah, it is exactly the same process as what we did for the police station. We review all proposals against the evaluation criteria that were set in the request for qualifications. So it's something that each of you would have to take the time on your own to review the proposals, get a sense of, do you feel that this is a qualified firm or not? And then we need to have a formal sit-down and do a formal review of those and rate them to determine, which are the top 3 firms that we might want to bring in for an interview? Or even are there top 3 firms, or, is it obvious that one firm is far superior to the others? We just have to decide when are we going to take that step.
Are we obligated
Time
to
limit?
have a certain number to interview?
It's a best practice to try to interview 3.
Is there any time limit?
I believe, I can't remember what we said in the RFQ in terms of what our intended award of contract was.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it goes beyond that, we're fine.
Why
Yeah,
don't we,
if it is not, we could wait until June 6th to see, whether both pass.
I think we should do our homework before June 6th
Yeah.
so that we can react quickly.
why don't we wait till after the town meeting?
At least town
And then
meeting.
we'll set up a meeting
Okay.
after that.
When is our next meeting here?
June 6th?
That's
June
Tuesday,
6th is the
The
election.
14th is our next
Tuesday.
regular meeting.
14th.
June 6th is town election. Yeah. Not a FISP meeting.
All right, is there anything else we need to talk about?
I think we're good.
All right, so next meeting is 14th, 7 o'clock.
Regular meeting.
Unless we feel that we need
Unless
something
we
earlier.
feel we need something earlier. All right,
Next meeting is when?
June 14th.
That's our next regularly,
Right, next regular meeting.
We want to thank everybody from the town that's been listening to the meetings, and we asked everybody to go to the town meeting Monday night at 7 o'clock and go to the election June 6th from 8 to 8, right? Oh, noon to 8.
noon to 8.
I
Yeah.
will put that out there, but I don't think at this moment, I don't know.
No, it's noon to 8.
Noon to
Oh,
8.
you're right, it is. You're right.
Every other town election.
That's right, you're right.
Noon to
The
8.
big one, the federal ones were,
Presidential.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7.
okay.
And then this is question number 4 on the warrant, so
Yeah.
it's at the beginning of the meeting, so.
And support the senior center.
After presentation.
Support the seniors, absolutely.
Support the senior center.
Thank you so much.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Right.